recording is about to start, so give it a second. Okay. So once again, quick disclaimer, this call is being recorded. If you don't want to be recorded, you may want to drop off now. Uh, Thank you for joining, and I hope everybody has a wonderful Friday. And today we are going to talk about some of the storage updates. And, you know, with Azure services, there's always new updates coming. I just picked these two updates as kind of this seems interesting um, to me, and it seems like the customers were looking for these updates for quite some time. Both are in preview, just keep in mind. So the two updates that we're going to talk about is first of all ability or support for SFTP with Azure Blob Storage. So that's currently in public preview, and that is available in not available in all regions. I have a link to the documentation which describe what regions are available, and it's not available for all storage account type. Like I think it's only available for LRS and ZRS, not available for GRS. Okay, and we will talk about it in a second. The second one is very interesting. This is, Azure Storage has the ability to have a firewall where you can put IP addresses, so only that traffic can come or block that traffic, things like that. Now you can have a resource instance that you can allow to access Azure Storage. So that's, once again, it's a very interesting feature. It's also in preview, and we will take a look at it. I just have a couple of slides. Mostly it's going to be a demo today. So let's look at the first feature. So the first one is the ability to do SFTP with Azure Blob Storage. As I said, this capability is available in limited regions since it's in preview, and also it's available, I think, in LRS and ZRS storage. It's not available on GRS. Currently, in terms of authentication, it supports password based as well as the key based, but you cannot have both. So this is since it's in preview, that's kind of a restriction, and it allows the SFTP protocol to upload download file. So and this was a big ask from the customer that they want to have the ability, instead of deploying their own SFTP infrastructure, they wanted something available as a PaaS service where they can use it for their application. A number of applications still use SFTP, and they wanted something which in Azure platform, kind of as a part of the platform, which provides them that capability. And this is that particular service which should be able to address that need. So let's quickly go into the demo. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a new instance. Yes. So first of all, before you can do anything with the FTP or create an account, you have to go into preview features. You can type in here preview features, and it will come here, and then type here SFTP. Look for SFTP and click on it and register for it. Okay, I have two subscription. One subscription is registered, and the other one, this one is not. So you just click on it. It takes a few minutes to register, and once that is registered, what you will see is once you go in there, it's gonna say it is registered. Okay, and it will take a few minutes. So just keep in mind, before it completes, you wait for its completion, its change of status. In my case, it was only a minute, I think, but it may take a few minutes. So just wait for this to complete. Okay. Once that is done, then let's start creating by a storage account. And I just want to show you what what is the key things that you want to do in a storage account. So first of all, you will go into a subscription for which you have enabled or registered that preview feature. Once you are there, you will go into your resource group. If you haven't created it, you will create a new one. Go into a region where it is supported. I'm using East US 2. And then you can use a name. Okay, let's use a different name. Um, and I'm going to use locally redundant. So far, nothing is different, just like you create any storage account. But here, you see that enable SFTP is grayed out. You cannot change it. You have to enable hierarchical namespace, and then this will turn, then that checkbox will be enabled. Once you enable it, now, so it is a part, you have to have ADLS Gen 2 hierarchical namespace there to have this support. You cannot have it without that. So just keep that in mind. So if you're seeing, okay, why this is disabled, uh, um, that's where you will have to check this box to enable it and then check it. Once that is done, that's all you have to do. You can do a review, create, and it will create the storage account. I'm not going to do that. I already have one storage account that I'm going to show it to you. So once you come to the storage account with SFTP enabled, you will see this under settings. You have configuration, resource sharing, SFTP. Okay. And that's where um, once you go in, you can set up users. Just keep in mind, one thing I forgot to mention, with SFTP support, it does not allow, shared access signature or RBAC or Azure AD integration. The only thing, the two things that you can use is, um, you have to create the users and keys. So I think you can create up to 100 users. So it's still kind of require a local user to create to have access. Okay. And on the other hand, this is only through SFTP. So if you want to access that storage account, so let's say somebody is uploading data through SFTP, but you want to access that blob container through the regular means, through your SDK from C# or from any other way, you can still do it. You can still access that blob through your regular means, like using the SaaS signatures and your Azure AD RBAC and things like that. The only thing is with SFTP, the only supported method is with a local user and a password or a key. Okay, SSH key. Any questions so far? Okay, so let's take one step further and let's add just want to show you a local user experience. So I'm going to add a SFTP user for extremely creative username. And then we go SSH password. And I'm just going to say create a key. And what you can do is you can generate a new key. You can use an existing key, or you can have a existing key stored in Azure, or you can use existing public key if you have already created such key. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to, for the sake of simplicity, I'm just going to use a new key. Okay. That's that. And with that, I'm going to go next. Next, it's going to ask what container you want to use. So these are these containers. I'm going to use file3, this container, and actually let's create a new one. Okay. Okay. And multiple. I'm just going to use this, and then it's going to ask you what permission you want. So these are read, write, list. If you have played with SFTP. These are the permission you have on SFTP folder. I'm gonna give read, write, list, create, node delete. Okay. And then it's gonna ask you about the home directory. What home directory do you want? So in some cases, you have directories under containers. Um, I'm talking about blob containers. So that's you can use that. Let's say I have a directory called docs under files 4, then it will be files 4/docs. But in this case, I'm just gonna say files 4. Okay, so that's the home directory. And with that, I am going to add this. Okay, it's going to create and then it's going to give you this. And just keep in mind, it will only show it this user ID this time. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it here. So this is the only time it's going to show this user ID. Okay. And same thing with the key. So you can download that key. That's the only time it shows up. You can save it and then you can move on from there. But that's important. So if you just click, click, click and don't note it down, then you will lose it. Okay. So with that, now I have this whole setup here. I can access that. And this is the connection string. This is how I will connect to my SFTP. So, okay, where is the, okay, so this is my SFTP connection link. So this is, as you can see here, I hope everybody can see it. The blob, this is the name of the SFTP store, blob.core.net. This is the, once again, store.user. So this is kind of a fully qualified name. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go into PowerShell and let me increase the font size a little bit. Font is 20. Okay, I hope everybody can see it. Um, and let's maximize it. And I'm gonna do SFTP and paste this connection. And it's gonna ask me the password. So I'm gonna copy this password from here and paste it here. And now that I have the connection, okay? And with that, I can put, let's say a file, I think I have a data1.txt. Okay, I'm gonna put that file in. It's uploading data1.txt into that folder. I think I have a data2.txt as well. And let's put that file in as well. So both the files are now there in that FTP. And just to prove the point, I can go into these containers. I have files for container here, and those two files are here. So you see, very simple. Few minutes to set up, and then this thing works like a charm. I mean, we have the FTP, no need to set up VMs and all that IS stuff, and that we have to worry about it. Everything provided as a part of the platform with the existing services that we already using. And the best thing to me, it seems like, is that you can use FTP. Other customer can still upload FTP. Legacy clients which needs SFTP, they can still load this data, but your application on the other side, they can use whatever mechanism they want, like they want to connect to it through SDKs or using shared access signature, want to get events based on that. uh, you can do all of it. Okay. So that's that. Um, um, uh, Folks, 1 second. I have yeah. So basically that's that. Any questions? Okay. So let's move on. to the next topic. Okay, so the next topic is the ability to grant access to Azure Storage from Azure resources. Once again, this feature relies on managed identity. So just like you have firewall-based access for IP addresses, for um, you know, um, and for VNets, now you can have you give access to Azure resources which have managed identity. Okay, and for that, I just want to show you a storage account here. Let's go in here, and um, this is my storage account. Yes. So if we go into networking, as you can see, I just selected networks, um, and in that you have existing virtual network and you have a new virtual network. The standard stuff, and I have allowed it for this is IP address of my machine, but there is a new option. You can now pick a resource type and allow those instances of that resource type to access. Why I think this is a game changer and why it is important. Yes, you can assign access before through trusted services because but with the trusted services the challenge is you give, let's say if you give access to Logic App as a trusted service, any Logic App has now access to your storage account. Okay, but with this one, you can only assign a particular instance. The only thing you have to be careful about, I mean, the only thing you have to make sure is that the service instance has a system managed identity. Okay, that's the key important thing to remember, that it should have a system managed identity, and that's the main thing, and that's the requirement. So um, you can, I mean, that's how you can access this information. And just keep in mind, just giving that access does not mean that that resource will be able to do anything. You still have to give that managed identity appropriate role-based access permission, RBAC permission, for it to, kind of to do what I want to do with that storage account. Okay, so let's go through it, uh, one more time. So what we're gonna do is we are going to create a Logic app, and we want that Logic app to access storage account. Excuse me. We go in here, and this is our yes, this is our resource group. We are going to create a consumption storage account, logic app. And you know why this is important as well? Because here you don't need to have VNet connectivity and all that. You can just make sure just the managed identity is there and it can access that particular resource. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, and I'm going to, just give it a name. And we are going to do review and create. And let's create the Logic app. Okay, so as you can see, and 1 second, let me just check something. Yes, so the resource is now created. What we have to do is, uh, before we make any changes, let's go into identity and make sure you give the managed identity access. Okay, this is very important. Once that is done, then you can go into this store and let's delete that access. And what we can do is, let's go back, save it, and let's go back to networking and select the resource type, logic workflow, and it will show you all your logic apps that are there. Okay, so here, this is the logic app that we just created, and we're gonna pick it up. So we're gonna give this logic app access to the storage account. Just keep in mind, this just says, hey, you have access, but what level of access, we haven't assigned that yet. So that is the second part. So just keep in mind, the first part, you have to give access through this firewall network. So allow this identity to go through this firewall. Okay. And the next thing is, um, we go into access control and go into role assignment. Oh, sorry, here add role assignment, and we are gonna pick up a storage blob data contributor role next. And then over here, we're gonna pick managed identity, and we are going to pick system managed identity. And over here, we actually pick up logic apps as well, and it will show us all the logic apps that are there. Let's see, where is our logic app that we just created? This is the one. Select, and that's it. So now this logic app has access to this storage, and the access level is storage data contributor. I hope everybody with me so far. Any questions? Okay. Um, and once that access is there, now we can go into this logic app and do something useful. So we're gonna say when an HTTP request is received, we're gonna use a schema here, sample to for the schema. And with that, so this is the input. We're just creating a small, workflow to show how it's going to work. And we are going to do a create blob activity. And for that, what we're going to do is we are going to um, create a new connection, and we're going to call it MSI blob 04. And for that, we're going to use logic apps identity. Okay, so this is currently in preview. As you can see, there's access key, Azure AD integrated, and logic app managed identity. And once we are done with that, it's going to ask us the storage account name, and the storage account name is here. So we're just going to copy it, and we're going to say we're going to assign a custom name, and we assign it. And then it's going to ask what is the name of the folder. There is a comments folder in that. We're going to use that. So there is a folder in this storage account. That's where, in regards to the um, the name of the blob, we're just going to generate a GUID. And sorry, so we are going to go into expression, and this is going to be our. So what we're doing is just generating a GUID, converting into a string. That's going to be our name of the blob. In terms of the blob content, we are, and this is, I just want to show that it can write to the storage account. That's all we are doing. So at the moment, we are just taking the body of the message, the HTTP message, or HTTP, the message, and just putting it in the blob. That's all there is to it. And finally, we're just going to reply back with the ID of the unique blob that is created. Okay, that's it. Save the workflow, and let's get this URL and let's try it out. Okay, so I'm just going to copy it. I have this advanced REST client. You can use Postman, and I'm going to post it to that workflow. Okay, we got a successful response. It returned us the ID of the blob that it created, the unique ID. Let's go back here and let's look at the run history. Let's refresh it. Yes, it has successful run. And if we go back to the storage account, go into containers, in the comments, you should see a blob created just now, you know. So just think of it there. And I just want you to focus for 1 second. Look here, this is selected networks. The only allowed address is my um, PC, and you can remove it from there, my PC, so I can do management and all that. That's all there is to it. And then we open the firewall for the resource instance. Okay, and that's the key here. So now you can basically go through the firewall, not using a network address, but a managed identity. That's why I think it's so powerful. So the services which cannot be VNet integrated, or you cannot get a outbound IP from them, or there's a huge range of IP and that becomes an issue, and they need to access storage accounts, you can simply um, do that with the managed identity. There is just one caveat here, and that is all of these services, like the consumer, which, whose managed identity you are using, and the storage account, they should belong to the same Azure AD tenant. Okay, they can be in different subscription. That's not an issue, but they have to be in the same Azure AD tenant. Okay. Any questions, folks? We are right on time. So, any questions, comments? If there are any question in the chat window, I will appreciate if somebody can read those to me. Okay. Okay, so if there are no questions, I will really appreciate. Thank you for joining, and I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, and see everybody next week. Thank you very much.